Each child comes out of class and reads for 20 minutes with the dog, one-on-one. The children get to know the dog. The results are absolutely phenomenal, Brian. They just blow me away.
Well, if you're old enough to remember the good old days of reading, writing and arithmetic, you're probably wondering what's happened in the past few decades, where we seem to have generations of young kids who aren't very good at or even interested in reading. Of course, this also affects their ability to write, and let's face it, we could always use a calculator for arithmetic. Well, I do sometimes. But there's a great project underway across Australia called Story Dogs, where dogs are helping young kids learn to read more and read better. And here to tell us all about it is Cindy McGregor from the Story Dogs group in Melbourne. G'day, Cindy.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Good, thank you. Cindy, what is Story Dogs and how does it work?
It's a phenomenal charity. Story Dogs, very briefly, is a literacy support program mostly aimed at Year 2 children. An accredited volunteer and their dog go into a school each week at the same time, and the school chooses 4 children who have reading difficulties for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And each child comes out of class and reads for 20 minutes with the dog, one-on-one. So the volunteer team is probably there about an hour and a half, maximum 2 hours at the school.
Yeah.
The children get to know the dog. The results are absolutely phenomenal, Brian. They just blow me away. And I think any school teacher or principal that you speak with would say exactly the same thing.
Now, how are the dogs involved? What happens here?
The dogs are very non-judgemental. The volunteers are trained to reduce the anxiety in the children. And, if the child doesn't feel like reading, they've had a bad day, they're stressed, the volunteer reads.
Yeah.
And everything's done through the dog.
Oh, that's great, because there is that sort of thing in our community, isn't there, that, if you don't do so well, you can be very embarrassed. And as you said, the dogs are non-judgmental. I'm looking at a couple of photos on the Story Dogs website here, and there's one, second one along I'm seeing is the joys of reading with a friend, and there's this big dog there, and he's got the paw on the book, and the kid's trying to read.
That's actually Stumpy.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay, one of your dogs.
That is actually Stumpy. That's actually my Story Dog, yes.
Oh, okay. So tell us a little bit more about Story Dogs, how it got started, who's involved, and how it all works.
Story Dogs is a national charity program. It began in 2009 in Murwillumbah, New South Wales, so northern New South Wales. And Janine Sigley and Leah Shelton began Story Dogs in 2009.
Yep.
And it's grown phenomenally from there. So we are across Australia now. Victoria began about, I think this is the 4th year for Victoria.
Okay.
And when I became a coordinator, we had one person who opened up Victoria. And she sort of managed to finally find 4 people who were willing to help her and step up as coordinators. One of them was me. We've now grown to 7 coordinators, I think it is.
Yeah.
Just in Victoria.
I think the biggest thing these days with all the online media that kids have got access to, they're often entertained, in inverted commas, rather than entertaining themselves by reading. And you and I both know, we all know that reading is, one of the prime things you really need to be able to do. If you're bad at maths, okay, you can probably get away with it with a calculator, but reading, you've got to be able to read and you've got to be able to write.
Exactly. And I think that's why a lot of us actually got into volunteering with Story Dogs, was because, we truly believe that literacy opens up a whole world, that you can be a functioning adult if you can read, but you can also do so many other things.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any specific, well, it's age-specific, the books, but are there any books that are better than others, perhaps, for kids to read, or is it just kind of anything?
Each volunteer has a set of books, and volunteers get together at the end of every school term and, trade their books around through a local group. But books with rhyme and rhythm, books with a lot of repetition, those sorts of things are the ones that we usually use to start out with, until we get to know, as a volunteer, we get to know the 4 children that we have.
Yeah.
And then we can start to cherry pick a little bit more with books that the children might actually be interested in, specific topics. For example, I have one Year 2 child this year who really isn't all that interested in reading, but He loves I think they're called manga books.
Mm-hmm.
So, drawing cartoon with some reading along with it. We fly through those. We get really involved. He gets really involved, and he's reading.
Yep. Oh, that's
I don't
good.
think he really realizes how much he's reading.
And that's the secret, isn't it, to good education, that you don't realize that you're learning this stuff. It just sort of happens naturally in many ways.
That's right.
So this is good.
That's
so,
right.
Okay, how can people get involved? Are there particular types of dogs that can get involved? Do they need to be accredited in some way? How does it work?
No, any dog that is not on the restricted breed list is eligible. What we are looking for is somebody who, cares about their dogs, but also cares about literacy in children. We put people through an accreditation process. Initially, the coordinator will meet the dog and the person, and if everything looks really good, then we make arrangements for a third-party Story Dogs assessor to come out and assess the dog for suitability, for, going into school, dealing with lots of children at a time, that sort of thing.
Right, okay. Excellent.
We're looking for people's pets. The dog doesn't necessarily have to have a lot of training as long as it knows the basics.
Okay.
Sit, stay, leave it.
Be quiet and look happy. Look like you're enjoying it. Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So
they don't have to be super dog.
You don't have to be super dog. Okay.
We're looking for a volunteer who is willing to commit for the school year for that roughly hour and a half to 2 hours per week, because the kids really come to look forward to seeing the dog.
Yep.
And in fact, Brian, the whole school looks forward to seeing the dog.
Of course.
It's really phenomenal to see the schools get behind the reading program.
Of course, yeah. Sounds like a brilliant program. And so if people want to get in touch, what do they do? Where do they go to? Well, there's two things, aren't there? You can donate. That's on the website. But what's the best way of getting in touch and finding out more?
The best way of finding out more is to actually go to the website, and that is all the W's, storydogs.org.au.
Yep.
And one of the things I really need to say that this particular organization is, I've never come across another like it. It is a charity. We depend on sponsorships and donations and grants if we can get them. But more than anything, it's the volunteers and their dogs that are so crucial, that are so important, that are truly valued in this organization. And the results are outstanding.
Fantastic.
So we're always looking for sponsors and donations and grants.
It's a lot of work, and with a great outcome, hopefully. Thank you very much. That's Cindy McGregor from Story Dogs, and we'll put that email address on the website as well, Cindy. So thank you very much for your time, and we'll tell everyone all about Story Dogs.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to spread the word about such a fantastic organization. It's really appreciated.